Hey guys, welcome to Dogforge. My name's Paul, and this is our Fizban's Treasury of Dragon series. Do you want more D&D and Fizban's content? Then hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Every subscriber helps to build and support our channel, and we are extremely grateful for each and every one of you. But it's time to dust off your Bruce Lee box sets, because this time we're taking a look at the Way of the Dragon. Well, okay, it's the Way of the Ascendant Dragon, but catchy intros are not always the easiest. Let's just get into it, shall we? So, this artwork seemed very fitting, and is also very cool. And slight detour aside, let's get into the subclass, shall we? So, the Way of the Ascendant Dragon is a monk that aims to let you capture some of the iconic features of a D&D dragon. Now, that should be obvious from the name, but I'm saying that because it's very reflected in the features of the subclass we're going to go through, that they're trying to hit every aspect of a typical D&D dragon. So, starting off with our Fizban quote, we have a nice little reference to comic books. And we also have an Ascendant Dragon origin table. Now this can be very good and very interesting for building your character's backstory, or if you're playing from first level, giving you story beats and clues as to where your power might come from. Personally, these are very... I wouldn't really use these as a role table myself unless it was for a one-shot. This is much better as a source of inspiration rather than a way to dictate to you. So this is a d6 table, and the options are: you honed your abilities by aligning your spirit with a dragon's world-altering power. A dragon personally took an active role in shaping your inner energy. You studied at a monastery that traces its teachings back centuries or more to a single dragon's instruction, or one that is devoted to a dragon god. You spent long stretches meditating in the region around an ancient dragon's lair, absorbing that lair's ambient magic. That one might be tricky if it fouled the water and whatnot. You found a scroll written in Draconic that contained inspiring new techniques. And finally, after a dream featuring a 5-headed dragonborn, you awoke with a mystical breath of dragons. Just a note on that fifth option with the scroll, that personally evokes a very Katara and the waterbending scroll vibe for me. So maybe you find that scroll and steal it from some pirate merchants. Just a suggestion. So starting off at third level, we get two separate features. However, the first one is really three separate things. So Draconic Disciple is broken down into Draconic Presence. If you fail a Charisma or... See, this is... I understand that they need to list it for each one, but this kind of description irritates me. So, if you fail a Intimidation or Persuasion check, you can use your reaction to re-roll the check, as you tap into the mighty presence of dragons. Once this feature turns a failure into a success, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So this is, in practice, a once per long rest ability in terms of its success. It would have been nice if this was a short rest rather than long rest, especially given you're not likely to have a great charisma presence to begin with. However, it's nice that it's drawing somewhat on... what comes to mind really is the Soul Knife from Tasha's, in that you're not going to actually expend this until you succeed. So there is that at the very least, but I still would have preferred to have seen this as a short rest. Given that it's one of many things we get at third level, it's no big deal. Next up is Draconic Strike. When you damage a target with an unarmed strike, you can change the damage type to acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. That's just cool. Come on, that's cool. If you want to play a kind of bending character, again drawing on that avatar-ness, this is a great way to always have those martial arts elementally themed strikes going on. However, I will note that it is explicitly unarmed strikes, which means that if you want to get the most out of this ability, at the very least in early levels, you might be taking a slight damage decrease compared to using, say, a two-handed quarterstaff. How much that means to you is going to vary person to person. For those unaware, every die size you go down, you're losing on average just 1 point of damage. So when you get this ability, you're going to go from, if you're using a two-handed quarterstaff otherwise, a D8 to a D4, and that's 2 less damage. On the other hand, you get to do cool elemental stuff, so that's well worth it in my opinion, and that loss of damage will go down as your martial arts die increases. Finally, for that feature, we get Tongue of Dragons. You learn to speak, read, and write Draconic, or one other language of your choice. So, this is just like a nice little ribbon, with a concession that you might not actually want Draconic, or you may already have Draconic from a race or previous class. Breath of the Dragon is our other third level feature, and this is going to be our Dragon Breath. So this functions similarly to the new Dragonborn, in that you take the attack action and replace one of your attacks with the Dragon Breath. It's either going to be a 20-foot cone or a 30-foot long, 5-foot wide line. You get to choose. And when you use this ability, you get to choose whether it's going to be acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Now, it's always going to be a dex save, no matter what type it is, and that is going to key into your key save DC. So you're not going to want to neglect wisdom too much on this monk. It is a save for half feature, and the damage is 2 rolls of your martial arts die. Now, this is damage-wise not great. It's going to start off as 2d4. However, as it's tied to your martial arts die, it will scale naturally with that, and at 11th level it will increase to 3 rolls of your martial arts die. That 11th level jump actually takes it from 2d6 to 3d8, as the martial arts die increases at the same time, so that's a nice bump. And in the meantime, it is quite a nice damage option, especially as the monk in general doesn't really have any AoE options. Something important to note about this, I suppose I should tell you how often you can use it. You can use this ability a number of times per day equal to your proficiency bonus, getting back those uses when you finish a long rest. However, if you've used up all of your free uses, you can spend 2 key points to use it again. 2 key points seems completely fair, seeing as you're getting a lot of free uses anyway. If you're burning key using this ability, then I would say you're either fighting a lot of mooks, a lot of minions, or you're probably overusing the ability. The 2 keys seems fairly reasonable. Something to note about this in general, though, however, is that for levels 3 and 4, when you get it, when you use your breath, you won't be eligible for your bonus action martial arts attack, because you're not making an attack with a monk weapon or an unarmed strike. You will, however, still be able to use Flurry of Blows, because you are still taking the attack action. Now, this does change at 5th level, because when you get extra attack, you can still make an attack. So that will allow you to use your breath, make an unarmed strike or a monk weapon attack, and then as your bonus action make your normal martial arts attack or Flurry of Blows. And if you're using the Tasha's optional rules, if you spend key to do this as part of your attack action, if you've used up your free uses, then you would also be eligible to make a monk weapon attack with your bonus action instead. Overall, this feature is, I think, just about right. This class is not about being a blaster. This subclass is not about being, a dragon that constantly spews its breath. This is about capturing the theme and the essence of dragons overall, and I think that breath does do it for the most part. I wish the higher end scaling would change a little bit, but we'll talk about that when we get there. So, 6th level. And this is on screen now, so let's talk about that. So this is the art for the Ascendant Dragon, and it is probably one of the most lackluster pieces in the book, in my opinion. Just because its artistic style seems to be very heavily influenced by old kung fu movies, which is great. It just, compared to some of the just wonderful art of dragons in the book, it falls a little short. Anywho, 6th level, Wings Unfilled. So when you use your Step of the Wind, you can unfurl spectral draconic wings from your back that vanish at the end of your turn. While the wings exist, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. You can use this a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all uses when you finish a long rest. So, this is kind of similar to that one totem, I think it's the high level Eagle totem for the Barbarian, where you have a fly speed on your turn, basically. This is piggybacking off Step of the Wind, and you are a monk, so inherently this is going to be quite a large fly speed. Being tied to Step of the Wind means that you're able to hit and run if you choose the disengage option, or just cover an insane distance if you're using the bonus action dash instead. Excuse me. This ability is, I like it, but it's also a little bit I wish that they had included the option to do it either more or unlimited, as it's tying to an ability that already costs you ki. For any DMs out there, this would be perfectly reasonable to allow to use again for one additional ki like it was in the UA, and I don't think anything would break if you just gave it as an enhancement to Step of the Wind overall. For players looking to do fun things with this, all I'm going to say is that you could totally take expertise in athletics, grapple a creature, fly all the way up, drop it, and then pummel it into the ground with your Dragon's Breath with your second attack. That sounds pretty cool. But you use this ability how you feel. Overall, this ability adds a great bit of maneuverability to a very mobile class to begin with, and gives some terrain problem solving to the monk that they may not have had otherwise. Level 11, Aspect of the Worm. So this is basically an aura ability. You have an aura that radiates 10 feet from you for a minute, takes a bonus action to create, and you choose one of two auras. Frightful Presence. When you create this aura and as a bonus action on subsequent turns, you can choose a creature within the aura. That target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your key save DC or become frightened of you for a minute. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a successful save. This is why I said at the beginning of the video that this was really about capturing all the aspects of the dragon. Frightful Presence is a feature of D&D Dragons that is very iconic, and this is going to give you a good debuff option that is not Stunning Strike. It's okay. The range on it is kind of lackluster, and you are trading a martial arts or flurry of blows in order to do this, so bear that in mind. The other option is Resistance. You can choose Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, or Poison, and whilst the aura is up, you and your allies within the aura have resistance to that damage. Again, a little torn on this. As a player, personally, I would see this as resistance for you. For your monk, you get that resistance, and I would treat it as a happy coincidence if other people are in your aura at any point. That's because the monk is a high speed, high maneuverability class, and having people cluster around you does hinder your movement a little bit. That said, this ability does allow you to kind of stand in front of your party and allow them all to shrug off the breath of whatever dragon you might be facing down, and that's a very thematic image. No matter which aura you choose, you can only use this ability once per long rest unless you spend 3 key points to create it again. Overall, I'm not in love with this ability. You have to remember that this ability is coming online at the same level your breath damage increases to 3d8. So it's not the only thing you're getting, and it is hitting on some of the aspects of being a dragon. I personally wouldn't spend ki to do this again. unless you were fighting something that had an elemental damage that was really hurting you. For instance, if you were fighting a Remoraz, it would be perfectly worth it to use it to gain fire resistance. But in general, I would just use the one free use and then just let it be. Finally, we have Ascendant Aspect. And this is really the culmination of all your abilities. So first of all, your breath is going to get more powerful. When you use your breath weapon, you can spend a key point to make it either a 60-foot cone or a 90-foot 5-foot wide line. That's kind of crazy, and the damage increases to 4 rolls of your martial arts die. So the size increase is a little insane and well worth 1 key. The damage increase is, of course you're going to take a damage increase, why wouldn't you? It's a little disappointing, to be honest, that 4 rolls of your martial arts die needs key. Ideally, this should have been 4 rolls standard, and when you choose to spend that additional key, it goes up to 5. That would have been preferable, but it is still a useful ability, and that you can take on small armies with AoEs that size, so that's really satisfying. Second thing you're going to gain is Blind Sight out to 10 feet. Now, 10 feet isn't far. It's similar to the blind fighting style. It is not the terrible blind sense that the rogue gets. It is better than that. Again, this is the kind of thing where dragons have blind sense and they're just blind sight and they're just trying to give you things that a dragon has. It's one of a suite of things. Take it, and they've kind of marked out 10 foot of blind sight being worth a fighting style, which itself is worth a feat. So I can see where they're coming from. Ideally, I would have liked to have seen this as higher. Even if it was just 15 feet, 10 feet's really restrictive. But it does give you another tool. After all, you're a tier 4 character. You should have the ability to deal with invisible enemies. And finally, Explosive Fury. When you activate your aspect of the worm, you explode. Choose any number of creatures you can see in your aura, so there is no chance of friendly fire. They must succeed on a dex saving throw against your key save or take 3d10 of the elemental damage of your choice. Being able to choose the targets, good. Adding damage to aspect of the worm greatly increases its value. 3d10? As a rider, that's pretty good. For aspect of the worm itself, it might become the reason you actually do it. It's really disappointing to see that this is save or nothing. Like, there's no reason this shouldn't have been save for half. It's only 3d10 and that would make it feel a lot better. Overall, this capstone is kind of it's rounding out you feeling like a dragon, and it's giving you some improvements to keep you up there in tier 4, but overall, I think it could be summed up as, should have gone further. Now, overall, as a subclass, I like the way of the Ascendant Dragon. I'm going to be playing one soon, actually, in a one-shot, in order to give it a go, see how it fares. I think that the breath weapon itself, whilst not being a showstopper, is appropriate for what it is. For anyone that might want to compare it to spells or whatnot, what you have to remember is that this is something that a monk cannot normally do. It is given in other subclasses. This is not something a monk can normally do, and it's not an action, it's only replacing a single attack. And that really drives up the value. And I think that's probably what has led them to be a little more conservative with the damage. The Wings Unfilled ability, some additional uses would be nice. However, at the same time, I must admit that you're probably not going to run out of uses for the most part unless you're intentionally trying to use this. Apart from that aspect of the worm and the Ascendant aspect capstones, they're kind of there, but they're not bad. Overall, this subclass feels very in the middle, and that's not a bad thing. We don't need to push the boundaries of power creep with every subclass, and the most important thing is that this is dripping with flavour and a fun new way to play a new kind of firebender, you know, that kind of thing. Yes, I'll probably be flavouring mine as a firebender. But that's just what I think. What do you think about the Ascendant Dragon? Let us know in the comments down below. And whilst you're there, hit that like button if you like this video. If you're not subscribed yet, why not hit that subscribe button? And now this is a new part to the outro, why not also check out our Discord server? There will be a link to that in the description, as well as a little buttony thing on the channel. Over there we have a river of memes, some of which are D&D focused, some of which involve cute animals. And we also host one-shot events. We're currently in the midst of a Halloween event. And we also have things like Christmas events, and we talk about new books, that kind of thing. It's just a great time. Oh, I almost forgot the notification bell. See, I'm out of practice. Hit that notification bell if you want to get notifications about our upcoming content. And if you want something to come immediately, then hit one of the boxes on screen with one of our suggested videos. I've been Paul. I've been a little bit rusty, let's be honest. And I'll see you next time at the Forge.